If you are a new immigrant to British Columbia and you want to avoid violating any laws or paying any massive taxes, then listen up. In this video, we're gonna cover how what an already pretty expensive province and surrounding cities can be a lot more expensive if you do not know about number one, the foreign buyers ban, and number two, the BC foreign buyers tax. We'll also talk about how your spouse, if they avoid the ban, they might still be liable for the 20% tax. So if you are in any of those buckets, you will not want to miss this video. Thank you for joining us, and let's jump in. I'm Paul David SQ, and I run the award-winning Level Up Mortgages brokerage, where we have won various awards and been on television to give advice on how people like yourself with complex situations can find simple and profitable mortgage finance strategies so that you can get a better head start. I personally came from Mexico when I was very young with my parents. It was the early 1990s, and they left everything behind. So they get here and they had no real advice on how to save on taxes, how to afford more mortgage, even what a mortgage was. They bought in cash. And lastly, how to have their money go further. So my mission is for you to get a much better head start and live your life to the fullest in this beautiful country. Because the topic of the foreign buyers ban and the foreign buyers tax require lots of reading, I'm gonna go over the most important things you need to flag just in case you qualify or you don't. If you're somewhere in the middle, then that's perfect, because that's when you gotta get in touch with my special lawyer team. Keep in mind, I'm not a lawyer, this is not legal advice. However, this will flag if it's worth investigating things further. And of course, you'll need to know your minimum down payment, how much mortgage you qualify for, and what taxes you have to be prepared to either avoid or to budget for. So of course, you can book me at the top of the description below in this video. Now, the foreign buyers ban was introduced in 2023. The whole concept was, for at least the next 2 years, they do not want foreign buyers to buy real estate in the more popular parts of the country so that real estate prices stay lower as demand is weathered just a little bit. Now, the thing about these sorts of bans is that they're usually just temporary, and there's always revisions that happen. In fact, just a couple months after this bill was introduced, there was already a revision, and what they said in March of 2023 was that if you have a work permit or you're a foreign investor or a part of a foreign fund, you have flexibility to buy a property even if you do not have PR, permanent residency, or citizenship. Let's talk about exactly how this works. Firstly, if you have a work permit and let's say you buy a house, and the day you move into your house, as long as that work permit has at least 183 days left in it, you are okay to buy the house. Secondly, if you are a foreign investor looking to buy land or develop on a piece of land, so to build real estate and help our housing supply, which the government very much wants, then you are potentially allowed this as well. Keep in mind, if it's through a company or a foreign fund, you have to make sure that foreigners do not own more than 10% of the fund. If all of this qualifies, then you can buy real estate and develop in Canada. Some more exceptions to this ban is one, if you have a spouse who just moved to Canada. Two, if you're a temporary resident, for example, you just studied here. The first one, if your spouse comes to Canada and they do not have a work permit, PR, or citizenship, they can still be part of title. It's okay as long as you have citizenship or PR. Secondly, if you are a student, for example, and you've studied here and you are a temporary resident, there are ways for you to avoid this ban. However, there are some fine print I recommend you read here on the screen just to make sure that you qualify. And I should say that none of this means that you can avoid the foreign buyers tax, which is a provincial measure, which we'll talk about very shortly. Lastly, if you're a big nature lover and you don't mind living quite outside the cities of British Columbia, you could be in luck and you can disregard everything I just said, because there is a certain map. And with this map, you can buy real estate outside of the green squares. That's okay. In fact, a place like the Kootenays is getting really popular, and as of now, that is okay to buy. But within those green squares, you cannot buy real estate unless you qualify based off all the facts we talked about. So you pick your choice, but it's good for you to know there are options depending on where you want to live. It's a beautiful big country. Now, if you have further questions, there is a frequently asked question part of the website, which I will link to in this video. Also, easiest way is to just get in touch and we can see how this applies to your unique situation and your goals. What we just covered was a federal Canada-wide foreign buyers ban. Now, there's also a provincial tax, which acts very much like the ban. And with this tax, it's called the additional property transfer tax, or just the foreign buyers tax. And it's additional because, just so you know, even locals have to pay a certain tax called property transfer tax when they buy any property. This is on top of it. Now, if you have citizenship, PR, or part of the provincial nominee program, PMP, then you're exempt from this tax. Now, you can read the website, but very high level. Just like the foreign buyers ban, all the central cities this applies to, right? Now, if you are a temporary resident or a work permit holder, unlike the foreign buyers ban, here you still have to pay taxes. So listen up, and I'm gonna walk you through the most important details of exactly how this works and how to get a potential refund if you're in the middle of applying for your PR or citizenship. If you cannot avoid this tax, you have to pay 20% of the outstanding home value. For example, if you buy a $500,000 property, you have to pay $100,000 the day you move in. Not one of my clients has gone and paid this, so if you are eligible to pay the tax, you may want to wait. Now, if you are on the PNP program, there are some interesting exceptions. So here's a scenario where, by the way, PNP program, that is for people with highly technical skills. And you can see over here is the list of professions that qualify underneath this. I should say that if you do qualify or think you qualify, talk to your employer. They play a really big role in helping you actually get approved for that. Back to the story, I have a lot of my clients who come from Amazon and the other global tech companies. Usually when you come here, one of you usually has the PMP and the spouse may not have PMP. They may not even have a work permit. Even if they do a work permit, in this scenario, if you buy the property and it's presumably 50-50 in ownership, you still have to pay 50% of what the household would owe the government on the 20%. Now, there are some, let's say, strategy around this where sometimes the non-PMP spouse, they own 1% of the property at the lawyer's office. Presumably that means that you only pay 1% of the outstanding foreign buyer's tax. Word of caution, and again, I'm not a lawyer, it's not exactly black or white, and it's not exactly a guarantee. So talk to your lawyer and see if this is something they're confident they can do for you. For example, if you're common law versus an actual married couple, it can be trickier with the former than the latter, but talk to your team and we'll take care of you. A last point on this foreign buyer's tax is, look, if you see a property you just cannot say no to, it's an amazing deal and you have not gotten PR or citizenship, you can actually buy it, pay the tax, but get a refund within 1 year. Now there's some conditions here. High level, number one, mortgage lenders, most of them at least, will not lend you money unless you have already gotten PR, citizenship, or PMP, because they don't know when you'll qualify, and there's just too much risk for them. So that's why I said if you have all cash to buy the house, be my guest. Now, the conditions, high level, so that you get the refund is, number one, you have to make sure you move into it full time. It has to be a primary residence, so not a rental. And you also must have gotten PR or citizenship within 365 days from the move-in. Now there is fine print and gray zone, and there's a little bit other nuance to it. So of course, before you buy a place in cash, talk to your legal team and make sure that it is all good to go. To summarize, the federal foreign buyers ban and the provincial foreign buyers tax, they have lots of rules around them, and it's important that you get informed on how it applies to you. I should say that they always start to change them over time. So when you're watching this video, there could have been an announcement yesterday around how it's now a little bit different, and hopefully you're watching this video and it's all gone, because I know that you, immigrants, foreign people coming to Canada, are extremely important to build the culture, give it real culture and inspiration with the workforce. So like my family coming here, it's not hard. It's already quite an expensive place. However, the freedom and the stability really is something that is valuable, and we need more newcomers to this country. So I very much hope that today you got some inspiration and some really good information for you to make some sound decisions on buying property and living here in this beautiful land we call Canada. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to looking at your complex case and finding a simple and profitable solution. Hasta luego. Muchísimas gracias.